Hello, hello, welcome into the College Championship for League of Legends. I'm Mad Magical, joined in by Quacks. We got the ultimate duck cast going on right now. I had to wear a duck tie as well, just to really cement the legacy there. And also, I just realized that we have inverse colors, because you have the pink
We
tie.
do.
Yeah, I just realized that. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if that was actually planned.
I don't think it was planned, but I'll take it nonetheless. I myself am looking for a pink suit, and I'll probably be looking for that in the near future as the semester for me has just ended. But yeah, I love the coordination nonetheless, and I'm happy to be here with you, Magical.
And I'm happy that we have some exciting games of League of Legends ahead of us. Maryville taking on Winthrop. This honestly is like a matchup we've seen so many times in collegiate League of Legends. Pretty much the past couple of years has always been these two in the top four. Yeah, and in fact, a couple of years ago was the top two. They were faced off in the finals. But I really want to kind of dive into this, as well as dive into what has already transpired here for the CLOL tournament so far, because we've had a lot of exciting games already played. In fact, we even had Winthrop have to get a reverse sweep yesterday to get to this point to face off against Maryville in the first place.
For sure. And, coming off of a reverse sweep, I feel like it is a mix of emotions, right? Some people might be relieved and happy that they're, able to play in the upper semifinals, but other people on Winthrop might be a little bit disappointed, right? That it had to go to 5 games going into this matchup against Maryville. They had to pull out all the stops, and Maryville as a team in this tournament, as we've seen, has basically had the opposite story, I feel, because they have yet to drop a game, right? They were 2-0 against Wake Tech, they were 3-0 against UCI, and they were 3-0 against Fisher on Friday. So this team is kind of a bullet train. They have continued to go full speed ahead at every series. It seems like they just get faster and faster, and I think Winthrop definitely are just looking to try and upset them yet again here in this series. At least, in my opinion, you take a couple of games off them, I would call that a victory.
I mean, they could be the ultimate upset, too, because we did see almost 3 upsets yesterday. We talked about the reverse sweep for Winthrop, but also USC. A lot of people had been favoring SLU and that matchup to take that one. Then Northwood getting a 3-0 against Ole Miss, the team that everyone was touting as like the second favorites, right behind Maryville, now in the lower bracket. So you never know what can happen here in CLOL. And speaking of what is happening, let's move forward and look at our schedule for today, because we do have, as we were talking about, the Maryville Winthrop matchup that we will be covering here later in the day. It will be Northwood versus UST, and a matchup that not many people expected to see in the upper bracket. People are looking at the lower bracket for that matchup. Both teams trying to vie for that top 4 spot. And then on the other stream that we have going on at Running the Rift, Fisher College facing off against St. Clair Saints. That matchup is currently going on, and in fact, I believe Game 1 had just finished right as we were starting. Then Ole Miss versus SLU will be on later today.
Yep, bangers all around. So if you're enjoying CLOL so far, go check out those streams. Go check out Northwood versus UST after this one has concluded, and you definitely won't be disappointed. All 8 of these teams that are playing today, they deserve to be here, and that's a surefire thing.
Yeah, and I really want to make sure that we're focusing on our upper bracket here, because while the lower bracket is great, it's going to be on the other stream. So if you want to check that out, Running the Rift has you covered. But let's talk about the matchup we have first off today. Maryville versus Winthrop, as we kind of were highlighting a little bit before. This is a tried and tested matchup that we have had in collegiate many, many a time. And in fact, these two teams have played up against each other in various different tournaments. So I want to dive into these two teams. I really start diving into Maryville, because this is the team that we all have pegged as our favorite team to win the whole thing. In fact, them losing games would be more of an upset than just not getting a clean sweep against any of the competition they have here in CLOL.
For sure. Maryville poised to win the whole thing. No surprise, really, as we take a look at their roster. Niles, Yuji, Spirax, Scary, Jerry, Zyko, these guys were silver medalists in NACL. Nothing has changed, and they look as dominant as ever here. And, CLOL, we talk about it, this really is kind of the crowning jewel for this program, but they have been denied it for quite a few years now, despite being the favorites and despite being so dominant in various other mediums and tier 2 for that matter. They have not won a CLOL championship in, I believe, 5 years? Yeah, it's been a while.
Was the last time.
Yeah,
so granted, 2020 doesn't really count,
For sure. But yeah, the team looking to reclaim their crown, the program looking to reclaim what is rightfully theirs, and they have all the dominance to do it.
Exactly, and this team really is going to be that team that we look at as our potential favorites for the whole thing. But up against them is going to be Winthrop University. And while this team has played up against Maryville many a times, this is a big shakeup that this roster has had from last year even to this year. And not to mention the last couple times that they faced off against Maryville. Well, Denethor is going to be like the main player that really has been consistent. Mobility as well from last year when they faced off. You have Trickster here, Sword, Chookies in the roster. So going up against the Titans that is Maryville, this is a roster that also has been built to succeed. But it feels like Maryville saw that and raised them a little bit on how to make an even better team just because how dominant they were in NACL.
For sure. And, you know, while we're talking about the players on Winthrop, I think it is important to highlight Denethor as a player. This guy is one of the top laners that everyone looks at when it comes to tier 3 to, you know, be able to promote to tier 2. So him going against Niles, sort of the quintessential old god of that tier 3, tier 2 scene, is going to be really exciting, right? I don't believe this is the first time these two have met on the Rift, but I think Denethor, with each passing tournament, he gets better and better, and I'm really excited to see that.
And in fact, we get to see like their history against each other. This is going all the way back to 2021 when they faced off in the finals. And this is what we're kind of talking about, that Maryville has been denied that victory in CLOL for quite some time. In fact, the first time after 2019 that they really got to play in CLOL since 2020 didn't happen was this one. And this was the finals where Winthrop were able to take game 4 and make it a 3-1 win in the finals to get their championship title.
For sure. And I mean, just looking at the rosters on this replay here, you can see the only player that is the same after all this time is Spyrax. So he is the only one that has remained. All 9 other players that you see on your screen are completely different. And yeah, Winthrop, they managed to take this series all the way back, like you said, Magical. But it's a different team now, basically. It's 2 different teams now. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of shakes up the narrative that has been holding these teams together for so long in rivalry.
And this is 2022 when we saw them made up again. This time it was the quarterfinals. And this is when Spyrax had left for FlyQuest Challengers. He got to join that team in the Tier 2. Niles went back to Maryville. And so now you have that one remaining factor that's the same between the 2 teams in this one. And it's really interesting to kind of see that ebb and flow of these players that have been trying out new things to try to grow as players, grow as talent. And the fact that now you have a couple of them, Spyrax, Niles, playing with one another here on Maryville, going up against Winthrop. And here's Winthrop. I was talking about before, you had a couple players that changed the mid-jungle. Were different from last year to this year when they met up in the semifinals.
For sure, and you can see Denethor Niles on the top there, so another rematch. But yeah, I'm really interested to see the rematch between, you know, Mobilities and Chookies as well, because you can see on that Zeri, Mobility has kind of been able to perform on some of these hyper carries, and I think that this is an avenue that both teams are looking to play toward in this series, because this is a bot lane duo on both sides of the coin that are incredibly dominant, that have something to prove, not just as individuals and as a duo, but also against the opposition, right?
Oh, sorry, this graphic is a little wrong. The 3-1 should be flipped. It's Winthrop that got the 3, Maryville the 1, because Winthrop had won that title. That is okay. The other ones are correct, where they last met up with each other. So of the 3 times that we've seen these 2 teams play recently in CLOL, it has been Maryville winning the last 2. The only real big one was Winthrop getting the title against them. And now they meet up here in the upper bracket of CLOL. Double elimination, so a little bit better for Winthrop, I think, in this one, because as we talked about, the last 2 times they met were in the quarterfinals, then the semifinals, in which they both got knocked out. And now they have that luxury of facing off against Maryville, maybe learning a little bit more if they end up losing this one, or they could always upset and move on in the upper bracket to try to contend for that title. I want to move on into our next point because we are getting close to game start time, and I want to get into this series because we have our head-to-head here between Denethor and Niles.
For sure. And you know, I kind of called Niles earlier the quintessential old god of tier 2, tier 3, and this is what I mean when I say that, right? All the way back in 2018, managed to win UPL Summer, and then, you know, had a string of wins basically every single year. You know, 2019 won CLOL, 2020 won UPL Summer and Fall, so had a repeat of success there. 2021, Niles was in the LCS, and then 2022, he won the Northern Conference. And then in 2023, he managed to win both OQ1 and 2, as well as be a Northern Conference champion. So a lot of success, a lot of titles, and a lot of first places for this guy. as the years have gone by. And then you look at someone like Denethor, who, you know, has only really been playing since 2022, has really only been with Winthrop since 2022, and almost in an interesting twist of fate, almost as a little bit of a parallel, Denethor in 2022 won the UPL as Niles did in the all the way back in 2018. So these players certainly have a different career trajectory, but there is a little bit of similarities between them. And I think that is just something that's really interesting to see.
See, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was about to say, it almost seems like they have very similar fates. It's just Denethor is younger. He's going down the same path of Niles right now, and there is a possibility that we see him grow into this place with Winthrop, that maybe one day he can have a crack at the Tier 2. Because they have had a couple chances where they played through the open qualifiers, made it over to the promotion tournament, but just falling short of that. So there's always that potential, and this would be a great time for Denethor to show that here in this matchup against Maryville in the upper bracket.
For sure. Upsets are possible, right? Winthrop, I think, you know, they're going into this thinking, you know, maybe we can take the series, maybe we can take the games. And I think it's going to be a really exciting rivalry to see repeated. But let's take a look at what everyone else thinks, you know. Yep. So let's see what the masses think about how this is going to shake out. And it's pretty unanimous. Yeah, it's pretty unanimous as to what everyone's thinking here. Mostly it is Maryville favored, but a few people, not me apparently, are seeing that Winthrop can potentially take a game or maybe two.
See, I don't know if I'm going to go with two, but I can see a game, or I can see a matchup where Winthrop does actually take one match. That's why I put the 3-1, because Winthrop are still a good team. They're a strong team, and we get to see everyone all across the board. We actually have two here pulling for Winthrop, getting their throps out. Axeman and Ulls saying that they think that Winthrop's got this one, and we did see yesterday a lot of upsets. There's always that potential, right? Yesterday was a day of upsets. Almost 3 of 4 were so, because Friday was technically where Maryville got to avoid that cursed Saturday for some reason. Just felt like that yesterday was the day that everyone had to get upset.
I agree, and you know, Maryville, a curse has kind of loomed over them, I feel, because like we said, it's been 5 years since they won CLOL, right? So despite being dominant, despite being this incredibly storied, this incredibly historied program that's been through such high highs, something has always gotten in the way. And I think Winthrop are thinking, you know, maybe that could be us. And there is always that possibility as TF immediately taken off the board. And I have to think that Maryville want to target a decent amount of Denethor's champ pool, right? Because as we established, we think Denethor is probably the biggest threat that Winthrop have going into this series. And I think Maryville, you know, they're smart with drafts, so they're going to immediately consider that, and they're going to take that Skarner off the board as well.
Taking that away, and then Rumble hitting the bench too. Interesting that we're seeing a lot of the top lane focused here by both teams. Twisted Fate, yes, you can. He's mostly a mid laner, but Niles does play a lot of that top lane. We have been seeing that over in MSI. Has kind of been like the flavor of the month for the tournament. So I'm not too surprised to see that taken away from Maryville, the flexibility that they have between Niles and Spyrex. But then Jinx, denied for mobility. But I'm looking at the bot lane pool, and normally in this meta, it has been bot lane focused, where we've seen a lot of Varus, Ashe, Jinx, Kallistas, all banned away. Senna as well, still left open. So many opportunities here for both teams, as Varus will be benched. I wonder if Maryville wants to deny that Senna.
I think the Senna would also be a really good call, but instead they're gonna go for the other magnet in the couple. It is going to be the Lucian taken off the table. So this is not surprising to see. I think both of these teams have adapted really well to these aggressive bot lanes. Lucian Nami comes to mind, and aggressive bot lanes, exactly. Callista immediately locked in. So I wonder if Maryville are going to respond with an aggressive pick of their own. The Draven could always be a possibility. I think that's something. You could maybe go for a more hyper carry focused thing now that you have the Jinx taken away. Something like the Zeri is also possible.
Senna right here for Maryville. That's like you're saying, all these cool picks. I like them, but Ashe is still open. You don't want to have that over on the other side with the Kalista or Varus. Both of them do well with that. And now they have this Ashe locked in for themselves. They do opt to go for Taliyah. This actually was something that we saw Friday that Maryville put a lot of priority into, because both Yuji and Spyrex play that so well. But when Spyrex has that, the mobility he has around the map to make sure that they can make these plays in bot lane has been huge. While Nico picked up for either Sword or Shookies.
So I am wondering, because I do love the Talia pick because it does completely screw over mobility, just being able to hop around. I do wonder, I was thinking probably going to want to pair that Nico, the pushing power of that pick with a more aggressive jungler who can get into the face of the enemy, can get into that enemy jungle and duel it out early on. And also just fight for those neutrals as well, right? So Xin Zhao, I think, is a great response. Maryville on the other side, not going to lock in the Senna. Instead, they are just going to give the Nautilus to themselves. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. Obviously, it works well with the Talia, but it does feel like it's a little bit of a question mark as to what Maryville's bot lane is looking to accomplish here.
Well, if we go back to Friday when we watched Maryville here on the stream, Psycho was absolutely nuts on this Nautilus. He was landing so many hooks. There was a couple times that I was even saying that if I was on the other side with some of those lollipop hooks that were landing, I'd be tilted too. Because some of them landed that just should not have ever landed. And that's why I think that they wanted to go for this. It's just something that Psycho has been showing some prowess on, has looked really good throughout this weekend. Make sure they have something that is confident in the spot lane. But I'm still looking at that Nico as a possible flex lane into the spot lane. We get a lot of top lane focus with the Camille, Gnar, Jax. But because we're seeing that and not really seeing the mid lane pitch set all for Sword, I could see them easily opting to put that Nico bot lane.
I was going to say the same thing. I think Nico support certainly is a possibility because of the lack of bans going toward that support role, like you mentioned, Magical. And it's a good combo too, right? You're able to get the Nico directly into the middle of the team and immediately hit that Nico ult. That's a really good combo. It's a really scary combo to have to deal with. But you also have to deal with the tanky members of Maryville, and the quintessential tank member right now, the 405 billion year champion. Cassante has been locked in for Maryville, so comfort pick for Niles, comfort pick for basically anyone in competitive. Not surprised to see this one here.
And there it is. Orianna locked in for Sword. Nico is bot lane. We kind of were talking about that, and it is going to be what they opt for. And I like that. You talked about pushing mid lanes before when it was the Nico mid lane. Orianna, very similar, and the free ball delivery service in pretty much any three of these members you want to attach to, because you're going to be tossing a Nico in anyways. We got Nico, Xin Zhao, Renekton, all that can go in, and Spyrex opting to go for Tristana here mid lane. We have been seeing that Tristana mid coming back into the flavor as the current meta has kind of shifted more towards those carries.
This throws a complete wrench, I think, in what Winthrop were hoping for, right? They were hoping for push in mid, and you are not going to be able to walk up to the wave against a Tristana, especially one that gets level 3. As soon as that happens, I would be fully expecting Spyrex to take control of this lane, grab it by the throat, and completely push Sword under his tower, subjugate him under there. Which does limit what Wokao can do. It does limit what he can do in terms of aggression. And I think that's really good for a champion like Talia, who wants to kind of power farm, get those items. So having that Tristana as that sort of safety net in terms of priority, I think sets Maryville up really well here.
And now we've loaded up onto the Rift. Game number 1, Winthrop University. Hope to upset the expectations that Maryville have put in everyone's mind. The top team of Collegiate, the powerhouse that they have drafted, and a lot of people, including myself, saying the best roster we've ever seen in Collegiate now. Trying to go up against them for Winthrop. That's going to be a very difficult task, but we've seen a lot of upsets so far this weekend.
Oh yeah, upsets were the name of the game this weekend. So I think if Winthrop have it in their brain as a Wokao.
Oh, come on. No dance.
No dance.
Niles was asking for dance, and now they're looking for the kill on the Wokao. Trying to get away. They jump for it. Flash does not help for first blood going over to Spyrex.
And he burned Flash. So that is a summoner down for Wokao. Completely limits his ability to go for those aggressive plays like we talked about. And Spyrex is going to have a timer where he can reset, right? He's going to be able to spend the gold, going to get that extra long sword, and just make this lane a living hell for Sword.
Exactly. Sword, it's going to feel really bad here for that one, because this is one of those opportunities that we were talking about. As Sword, the first few levels are kind of critical, I think, for Orianna against Tristana. We saw this a lot last year, so I'm really confident in the fact that Orianna, 1 through 3, actually does fairly well into Tristana. Low range, haven't really got that passive to stack up, don't have those levels yet, because we saw the rocket jump started out by Spyrex. No pushing power. But then once you get level 3 as Tristana, the wave's just going to push itself. You really don't have to do much as Tristana at that point.
And we can see the lane swap initiative has been started here by Maryville. I love seeing this, actually, because Denethor not going to be able to do much, right? He's not going to be able to do much in this position, and it's just going to completely push him into the wave, into the turret.
Quack.
That's not what you want to see if you are Renekton.
No, but I'm looking at how Niles is positioning, and it's a callback to Season 1, back with River Shen. Niles is just hanging out here and being like, all right, I'm just making sure to protect the top lane, protect my bot lane that's now in this lane swap to try to crash this wave as Denethor getting spotted out. Niles is like, no, you stay away from the wave. We will fight over here between the two turrets. You're not coming anywhere near this. We are getting as many plates as humanly possible, especially because topside, there are those extra resistances that are on the turret.
Exactly, and Scary Jerry Zyko going to be able to push this wave in. Look at how many minions are being denied away from Denethor. This has got to hurt. That's got to hurt not just your game plan, but your soul as well. Denethor, I feel bad for you, buddy. That
look at this.
doesn't
He's
feel
just getting
good.
dope
Oh
right
God.
now. Ignite has been used already, but that's just to get rid of the Crocodile, who has no home, no swamp to go to.
And Wokow trying to assist his top laner, but there really is no assist to be given. But one thing we haven't checked up on is the bot lane of Winthrop as well. Mobility and Chookies, you can see it silently farming on that side as well. So although we have seen Denethor getting bullied out time and time again, and actually we're just going to see it again.
Oh, you TP'd into this one, and Yuji, perfect placement, the dive, juggling the aggro, gets the kill for Scary Jerry.
So he's going to continue to miss the experience. Denethor not too pleased with the current state of the game.
Wait a minute, no.
Don't
Sword.
do it again.
Okay, wait, Sword's level 4, so it's a little different, okay.
It's
I thought
okay.
for a second that there might be issues, but the wave's gone. There's not that fat wave that had stacked up before, and they realized it's a lot easier to dive a level 1 champion than a level 4 without a wave.
Absolutely. So they're not going to chance it on Sword. And you can kind of see Wokow on the other side of the map just looking to kind of shadow his bot lane here, who have been, like I said earlier, just silently getting some of those plates. They have already taken 3 plates, Magical. We're 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it's bot lane. There's not as many resistances as you have on the top lane turret. So that is going to be the big thing, that Winthrop, even if they do lose out the 2 kills on the top side, first blood picked up by Spyrex, and then the rotation from Yuji Niles to make sure that they get Scary Jerry a kill. You still have to deal with the fact that Mobility has a lot of gold now. Look at the CS differential between the two ADCs because of the lane swap, because Mobility and Chookies have had a free bot lane. Then if we count in the gold that you have onto Mobility, yes, it looks even, but that's only because the kill happened. There's no kill, there's no interaction from Mobilities and Chookies so far. The fact that they are even, if not slightly ahead of their competition in like 10 or 15 gold, is actually a big boon for Winthrop.
And now, all of that gold that was in the pocket of Mobility gets to be spent. A Dirk coming out, which is going to mean a lot more of that lane aggression that we usually see from Kallista's. We usually see from Tristana's as well, as Spyrex goes in for a decent trade there.
It's post level 3. It's really hard for Sword to push up. He was able to at least push the wave, but then Tristana's like, oh, you have a long way to go to get back to your turret. I'm going to get a lot of damage, force you out of the lane. You TP top lane, which means that this recall could be punished, especially with how fast Spyrex can push. And then bot lane, already rotating their Scary Jerry Psycho, making sure that Yuji can get the first neutral objective of the game.
And I love that they do this before 6 minutes, right? Before a handshake is even possible from the side of Winthrop, because now wave pushed in mid, wave pushed in top, Yuji pathing up toward that top side. So those grubs are next on the menu. And Denethor does not have 6 yet, right? That Dominus is not available. This really is kind of the ultimate that you have to pay respects to. But without it, I feel like Maryville University have a little bit more to work with, a little bit less fear going into some of these neutrals around this top side.
In the top lane was looking for Niles. They need to get something back on the map in this top lane, because with Denethor being, he was put behind, right? They had the kill, and now almost finding him. Yuji scaring away Wokow, saying, nah, go back to farm up. We're going to have control over these neutral objective pits. This is something that we've seen so many times from Yuji. Whether that be collegiate, whether that be in Challengers League this year where he got the MVP vote this time around. I'd been voting for this guy for years. I've been saying that this guy is an insane talent. Finally, everyone else is recognizing it.
Yuji has been on a tear. I think everyone can agree about that. And, you know, we're seeing it here in this game. Just how dominant he is in the jungle. Wokow not even going to be able to contest those. Pryo just not favoring him. I love that Niles TP back to the lane to hold that position.
Perfect.
And just make it impossible for Denethor to move. And now Weaver's Wall acquired here for Yuji, so I wonder if he's going to look for anything cheeky as Denethor still doesn't have the Dominus.
I don't think you even want to use it. You have it right there. The flash is available. Same with the slice and dice, so he's just going to get out of there. Seismic Shove, getting a little bit of damage onto Denethor. At least getting the flash burned onto Denethor. But I think level 6 is going to be ticking up soon. That's why they had to call Spyrex to make sure they could go for the dive before level 6 is there. They got the charge, and then that Buster Shot kill for Spyrex.
Easy pickings. No flash, no Dominus, no defenses, and Denethor just keeps going down. And we were hyping him up. We were saying this is the highlight player of Winthrop. And I think Maryville, they recognize that too, and they're playing it accordingly.
Exactly. They're saying, all right, we know this player has kind of gone for 1v9s in the past. Put him behind early. Now it's going to be a TP. They already got a lot of damage on Scary Jerry. First casualty as the TP will be completed by Spyrex. He's in the vicinity. Low health bars. Taking Wakal. Looking for the reset to get out of there. Mobility's gone. Spyrex chasing it down. They even got the flash away over the tangled barbs. And then Sword, the next one. Double kill's already there. Looking for the dive. Charge back onto Sword. He will survive, but only just with his life. Spyrex allowing him to leave this time around. Arrow, though. Hello? Oh, Sword. Saying, nope, not this time.
Spyrex coming up big with the Tristana mechanics. Hop, hop. And he just manages to pick up some kills for him. Now 4-0-1. And this is just making Sword's life so difficult, right? Because he's going to go back to lane, spending all that gold, probably going to get himself his first item. That Kraken Slayer most likely going to be picked up, and it's just going to continue to put this Orianna behind. And yeah, I mean, Winthrop, they want to get this Orianna to the late game as cleanly as possible, but when you have a 4-0 Tristana in your face, that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, you're not really going to have the easiest time dealing with that. There's 10 CS behind. Honestly, I think that Spyrex, has he gone for the recall yet, or did he just get the Noon Quiver? I wasn't keeping tabs on that one. So it's the fact that he has all this gold still picked up by Tristana, and the next time he recalls, will have that first completed item. Yeah, he hasn't even gone for the recall. There has enough for that first item.
He has enough? Yep. That Kraken Slayer, I think maybe he's waiting for it to kind of be a surprise item spike for this upcoming dragon. Maybe he wants to make it so that they're like, oh, he doesn't have item yet, we can fight. And then he comes out of fog with his newly acquired fancy items, and there you go.
If you're playing against that, you just saw Tristana get all those resets, you know that that first item's there. You know that he is just being greedy at that point, and then the next time you see him, he will have that item. You're expecting that. And that's exactly what Spyrex has now. Berserker's Greaves and Kraken Slayer into this mid lane. So you're going to have a lot of power to kind of push back against Horde, and especially as you were talking about this next neutral objective up, almost available. Could have seen possibly a play into the bot lane before we have it spawn onto the rift, but it seems that the flash there, body blocked, arrow connecting onto Shookies with the depth charge, bounce around mobility for a kill out of Scary Jerry. Shookies, he tanked up the arrow, but he'll survive, losing out on the ADC as the dragon spawns in 15 seconds. That's going to be another neutral for Maryville.
You were hyping up Zyko on this pick in Draft Magical, and yeah, we see that there. Zyko flash hook manages to hit it, and just no real hope for mobility there. They managed to get another pick, and with the push in mid, with just how out of the game it feels Sword is at this moment, just being unable to move, they're going to be able to take this dragon.
Yeah, it should honestly be uncontested, but Winthrop are positioning as though they wanted that fight. They had the wombo combo there, the dash in, the ball delivery service that we were hyping up with Wakao or Shookies, but Shookies not having Kalista would have been really risky going for that. You would really require Wakao getting into the back line. No flashes being available for Maryville, which thankfully there weren't many. But unfortunately, they had already kited back. They had already gotten the neutral objective. And now, Winthrop are saying, what else can we gain on the map? Maybe we can take down these Void Grubs, but Maryville are already on that attack as well. They're already moving to be in position to counter this.
I felt like that chase earlier actually did have a little bit of benefits, putting Maryville toward that bot side, making it so they had to take a longer way to get toward these grubs. And now we're seeing that space gained by Winthrop turned into an objective. So I really like them playing around the map like this. Now Maryville doesn't look like they're actually going to contest, so 3 apiece on the grubs means that both sides are going to have that pushing power later in the game. And I mean, Mobility has already gotten so many plates, so being able to juice that up just a little bit more, definitely going to be helpful for the bot.
Yeah, but that's a shockwave, not getting the dredge line to connect. That's when becomes lightning. Pop Blossom denied with the flash in with the shutdown. They get one at least for mobility. Yuji and Zyko will survive. Maryville a little bit overconfident with that push, staying a little bit too long.
And they see a giant wave in the bot lane, so they're just going to immediately transition over there. Scary Jerry wanting to get out of dodge before he becomes the victim of Chuki's next Tangle Barbs. Good pick overall. And just Winthrop, despite such a turbulent early game that I feel both teams have been put through, they're managing to find their colors, right? They're behind 2 dragons. They're behind 5 kills. But they're only 2.5k gold down, which I would say is definitely a partial win in Winthrop's books, being able to still relatively hold on to some gold.
The only problem is where they're falling behind on the gold, right? You picked a Renekton because of his lane domination. You picked that for Denethor because you want him to smash Niles in lane, and that didn't happen. You haven't gotten that, and Lethality Kalista does have great wave clear, does have good bursts initially in the fight, but does lack a lot of the sustained damage that you're going to have here from Maryville, and both Tristana, Scary Jerry on Ashe, even Talia has a good damage that she can do. Long drawn-out fights are going to benefit that of Maryville that we're getting close towards.
And it's also just, you know, while you're bringing up mobility, it's also just hard to navigate team fights with the comp that Maryville have drafted, right? They have the Talia, they outrange you with double marksman.
Like right there.
And we're just seeing that right there. Bomb gets put on, a couple autos land onto mobility, and Spyrax gets to walk away with impunity.
Has Flash and had the rocket jump available, so it gets away easily from that one with 4 members committed to try to push this wave. You're now against Tristana too. The Tristana's going to just clear out the wave a lot faster than you are. And even if you attempt to look for that play, Flash is there for Sparks. Has that rocket jump. Has Buster Shot coming up soon. So they can still look for these plays. And mobility kind of put away from the rest of the team. Doesn't have a good position. They get the knockback with the seismic shove. And that's going to be the reset. Double kill for Sparks. Mobility the next target with the chains already there. Wall put up. Denying the flash had to be used by mobility to escape that one. With Rift Herald up, Maryville making the call for the objective yet again.
Good push there by Yuji. He finds 2 members. They both get taken down, and with the space that they have acquired...
That's going to be cleansed, though. Scary Jerry outplaying Denethor.
Denethor looking for the alley-oop, looking for the Uno reverse card. But Scary Jerry has a card of his own, and it's called Flash. He uses both the Flash and the Cleanse. Manages to get that solo kill along with the Herald being acquired. So objective after objective, kill after kill, domination after domination coming out here for Maryville. And now that lead that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, Magical, has completely ballooned.
Yep. And that's the thing. That's why I was kind of saying. Imagine, if Renekton was even just 0-0-0 at that point, that is a dead Scary Jerry. He is so far behind in this game that normally a play that would work in the past would work in every other game. 99 out of 100 times that play would work for Denethor. He's too far behind here. Scary Jerry had that item lead beforehand. Had Cleanse and Flash, was able to outplay Denethor. And that right there is kind of the story of this Game 1. This Game 1 is completely falling apart for Winthrop. And even though they had good moments, they had good rotations to kind of get these objectives, take away the Void Grubs to deny all 6, that snowball potential that Maryville could have utilized. They're just too far behind in the lanes they needed to be either even or ahead.
You can see Winthrop trying to gain some ground in the mid lane, but I mean, Maryville, they have the Herald, right? They can charge this up, they can put it in mid lane, and I feel like Winthrop, if they don't respond, that could be just 2 turrets completely gone.
He's on the other side. Buster Shot's about to be there, and there he got all this damage onto Shook. He's trying to get away. Sword doesn't have enough damage either with the charge on top of his head. It's going to be the burst from the explosive charge, and as you talked about, Shelly making her appearance in the mid lane while Niles almost solo bowling Denethor is able to blast gun away, but I expect that we'll see a bit of a trade of damage here around that dragon as Shelly will take tier 1 mid.
And Spyrax doesn't even need to join the fight. He can continue pushing in mid because Niles has made his way over and completely cut off Winthrop from trying to contest this dragon. This is soul point for free. This is 2 turrets most likely for free. And Winthrop are falling apart at the seams. Magical.
Okay, well, Spyrax tried to stay for the wave. Rocket jump away. Audacious charge, but he didn't have the vision. When it becomes lightning flash. Guts the knockup with a 3 talent strike, but now with the crest guard put up, denies a little bit of damage there from Spyrax, and that pierce did not connect. That could have actually gotten the kill onto Spyrax had it landed.
Spyrax taken low, Scary Jerry able to bail him out, but the second turret in mid lane actually gets bailed out. That wasn't taken away by Spyrax, so limping, but still, Maryville, they survive. Winthrop, they survive nonetheless, but definitely limping here in this game. Yeah, probably like, 18 HP. Limping might be a little bit of an understatement for that. It might be like,
you know, have you ever played Jenga?
You
ever played Jenga?
I know what you're going for, but yes, I have played Jenga. I feel like it is like the tower after like 15 rounds.
15 rounds where everyone's taking the bottom two ones to try to make it as unbalanced as possible. And speaking of unbalanced, so all that used to try to get the kill on Shookies, and he's forced away. Ren almost helped down mobility, but Zyko surviving. Heal with the shockwave on a Scary Jerry. No flash, no cleanse. Dead bot lane, looking for the dive, and that's gonna be Denethor finally showing back up on the map. But you gotta be careful. Yuji and Spyrax, they're the ones with the gold, and you got a lot of damage onto Yuji, while Spyrax still threatening to look for any play. But they don't have Niall's TP. It would be a 2v5. More damage onto Yuji. Spyrax dodging away from the command attack. But he's enough to scare off these members. Tingle barely not landing onto Tristana, and he is still looking for this. He is greedy. That's the command attack. He wants to stop some of these backs, getting damage on his sword. Spyrax overcommitting, so shut down gold picked up by the Croc.
I think he wanted to stop the backs to allow Niles to take that bot lane turret, but he uses his life to do so, and honestly, I feel like at this stage of the game, when you're Tristana, you are so far ahead and you are worth so much gold, that's not worth it for Maryville. So they get the turret. Niles manages to get out and get that for free, but Spyrax cost his life. So yeah, an interesting decision, but still Maryville full steam ahead.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a pause right now. We did have a ZC. It won't be a very long pause, so we'll be getting back into the game relatively shortly, but it does give us a little time to digest what had just happened. And that is one of the things we have seen from Maryville, is sometimes they do play a little bit overly confident. Their lane phase has been really dominant, and sometimes they get a little bit too full of themselves, get caught out in positions they really shouldn't. And when we look at that play, I will say the big thing is the fact that Denethor got 2 kills in that one. And one of them being shut down gold onto Spyrax. We were just talking about how this Croc was so far behind, he was going to be useless. Now, he's got an influx of gold. Really needed when it comes to some of these team fights, especially if you can get on top of someone like Scary Jerry and Spyrax.
For sure. I mean, you are definitely going to need Denethor to be the one to try and get into that backline, to soak up all that pressure, to be the big man in the middle for Winthrop. But the damage from both the marksmans on Maryville at this point in time makes me think of, like, does it really matter? Because although, he'll get some more damage, I don't think he'll be that much more difficult to kill. And we've seen it, even when he uses the Dominus, even when he's all beefed up and big, it doesn't matter, right? The items from Scary Jerry, the items from Spyrax are just enough to melt this Renekton into paste. So it'll kind of be, it might be like an interesting sort of draw game where both of them are trying to get onto each other first, and whoever gets onto each other first sort of wins. But for now, I mean, Winthrop, they bite back, but Maryville's still in a very commanding lead here.
Oh, yeah. It's not like, even after that fight, we see Winthrop now even in gold. And as we talked about, the thing with Renekton is he's meant for that lane domination, getting ahead early so then he can snowball into some of these team fights. The fact that he'll probably now be more even in some of these fights, really what I'm expecting to see from Denethor is a life for a life. Just trade your life for either Scary Jerry or for Spyrax. And if you're able to do that, that's actually still enough. Because when you get to these late game fights as Renekton, even in the past, even when you're ahead, you end up becoming a stun bot if the game lasts too long. You're mostly there to try to remove one of the power points that Maryville have for themselves.
But I mean, on the other side of the table, Maryville University themselves have kind of a bot of themselves in Niles, who is able to just eject a single member out of the fight. And I have to think that if Denethor is, going to try and get onto that backline, like you're mentioning, Magical, 9 times out of 10, the person that Niles is going to be going all out on is going to be Renekton. So we'll have to wait and see if fights transpire. Niles hasn't been a part of a lot of these fights lately. He's mostly been in side lanes, and I think Denethor is going to have to be the one to kind of respond to that. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic kind of shifts, because like you said, Denethor just got a giant influx of gold.
Honestly, I don't think that Niles should be all-outing Denethor. I think he should be all-outing Sword. Sword, if you get rid of the command shockwave, you've taken away any power that is there for Winthrop. Even, like, some people might say, oh, what about mobility? Get rid of the Callista. Fate's Call that allows the Pop Blossom. That's a good option, too. But I think getting rid of the ultimate one that has the most damage in Shockwave. Orianna is a great scaler. Well, yes, we were talking about how Denethor, Renekton, not so good at that. Does fall off a little bit late game. That's not the case for Orianna. She lands one good 3-4 man shockwave. That could completely turn the tides of these fights.
Just let Niles go all out is basically what I'm thinking. Just let him go all out and let him go crazy. As Mobility went a little crazy and got punished for it. Yuji manages to pick that one up out of nowhere.
Yeah, just Weaver's Wall. There was Flash for Mobility, but didn't even bother using it. Didn't even need the depth charge, just got enough damage. Denethor getting chased away by Niles. And this is the problem. You have a Black Cleaver. You're up against Niles on Cassante. You are calling down Wakao to make this play, but guess what's happening on the other side of the map? This is perfect. Niles is okay with getting all this attention because they are getting the Baron for free. Niles getting a little bit of damage, does go all out just to die, but it's okay. 4 members will wear the purple of Maryville.
That was basically the opposite of what we saw with Spyrax trying to cancel the TP, in which case Niles gives his life for the rest of the team. Genji Baron buff acquired here by Maryville University. And this is a dangerous position that Winthrop are in now, because as you can see, Spyrax will be on a side lane just pushing down these turrets, and you're going to have to send... I feel like one member might not even be enough at this point. With the Baron empowered minions, you might have to send 2 members to deal with Spyrax, and that opens up Niles, who also has TP, to, you know, potentially be on these side lanes with nobody contesting it.
TP used by Sword. Dragon about to spawn. That is an Infernal Rift that we have. That is an Infernal Soul that is on the line. They're getting every member there. Spyrax still has TP. That should be top lane turret taken easily by Spyrax and still has enough time to get towards this dragon play. 50% onto the dragon. Yuji doesn't have that Weaver's Wall just yet, but he has enough damage to scare them. They're trying to get away. Denethor getting chased down by Niles is going to be secured by Mobility, but the fight afterwards. While Spyrax still pushing in the top lane, getting the job in with the Pop Blossom Flash on top into the back line. Scary Jerry survives. They get the kill on a Zyko, but can they get any more? Trying to dash away. Niles creating such a zone of distance. 3v5 damage with the Flash finally picking up the bot lane, and Niles with then Yuji to fall, but Spyrax this entire time has been inside of the base. They got to recall. They got to stop Spyrax from just taking the game. Baron buff is still there. Spyrax, how much do you commit for this play? Gonna get the charge on top of the turret, but won't actually get the gold from it. Shookies will clear out Spyrax from ending the game.
They managed to salvage the game. They stopped Spyrax, and they might try to put him in the dirt.
No, I don't think you want to go for that one. You have to get everyone else. That's a flash away. Spyrax still alive, trying to heal up with the help out of the wolves. Does have a little bit of movement speed. There's no flash from Denethor. Pop Blossom and the Bursting Bloom gonna connect. That's a rocket jump away. Spyrax makes it out alive.
Spyrax saving Private Spyrax, but he saves himself. He doesn't need no Tom Hanks for an assistance. As he manages to take the inhibitor. Winthrop, they win the fight, but Maryville take a little bit of a reward for their own.
Hey, if you're Winthrop, that is a huge win. You deny the soul. You win the fight. You get 4 kills, some of it shut down gold. Much needed for these Throt members that now have bounced them back into this game. And yes, Spyrax was able to take that top lane inhibitor, but the Nexus turret stands. They have their base still that they can fall back to. And now they have enough gold where it was getting towards that 8,000 deficit. Sure, it's still 5,000. But these are great looks at the moment for Winthrop to kind of bounce back in this game a little bit, especially as they got their second items for their carries.
And it does provide them with a little bit of breathing room, because you can see in the top right, the Genji Baron buff is about to end. So that pushing power is still available for Maryville University, but just not as strong. And Winthrop, with that new amount of gold, could potentially look for something. Spyrax looking for Denethor, who does have the all-out.
Yeah, he does have dominance he can use. There's going to be the dominance. Trying to slice some dice. That's a nice call of the Meek, but Spyrax has way more damage. Just sustain 3 items strong Tristana. You can't beat that. You're only at an item and a half, Denethor.
Manages to take him down, puts a couple of cannons into him, and that is that. Spyrax on the top side of the map. I'm actually really interested as to why he's not still pushing. He's completely uncontested. Yeah, I mean, he TPs with the rest of the team.
He's the only one with the Baron buff. Keep that in mind. They need him into the spot lane. Well, the Genji Baron buff has now spawned away. As they got a huge shockwave. We talked about this before. They tried to get into the back line. Will be the damage with a nice knockup. Pop Blossom interrupting the dash away. Winthrop back in this game, baby. Ignite burning for the triple kill out of Shookies.
Shookies plus Sword managed to get the wombo combo that you only see in your dreams or in the montages, as they destroy the members of Maryville University. Niles, the only member left alive after that, and this will give them time to clear out these waves, potentially get a push in mid, and just provide them with more breathing room in this game. If they can continue winning out these skirmishes, continue winning out these fights, then in about 2 minutes time when this next dragon comes up, I think they'll be in a really good position to actually fight this on somewhat even playing field.
And when we talk about Winthrop, so much of the attention goes on a Denethor, goes on a mobility when they talk about these teams, but not Sword. Sword does not get enough credit for how much he plays towards the team. This is a player who had been a mid lane player for quite some time on teams like 100 Next, but then had role swapped into support. Had played that for a few years, and now he's back in mid lane. And we can see just the confidence this guy has when it comes to some of these shockwaves. That shockwave was massive. The triple man shockwave we were highlighting before as the possibility for Winthrop to come back into the game just came through in that fight. Unfortunately, though, you look at the map, right, Quacks? We see that there isn't much for them to play up for. There's turrets, yes, but they didn't have them in a position that they could actually capitalize on them. No neutral objectives either, so all it is trying to fight away and go for a little bit of the tango dance of vision control on both sides of the map.
And kind of a line of scrimmage has been established past that red buff now. Both teams not really wanting to step over that line, but they're just trying their best to get something in mid. You can see Chuki's disguised as a minion, maybe looking for something.
They counted it. They knew, and that is going to be the attempt into this back line. All the while, Denethor still in the bot lane. Not really good options to TP towards, unfortunately. And with these waves and these wards getting cleared out by Maryville, right as we're getting 30 seconds left until both objectives will be available, Baron or the Soul, Maryville are making the call. They'd much rather have the Soul for the extra fighting power. They get the charge and they get the dash into the back line, but that's going to be the Pop Blossom. Only one member, Fate's Call away. Cow with the Crescent Strike trying to deny a little bit of the damage to flash away. Going golden, Shookie's surviving. Buster Shot denies Denethor into this back line. Shut down for Niles. The 5v5 fight going for Maryville as they chase away Winthrop. The last remaining hope is completely dashed out of Winthrop. Another huge hook for Zyko. Cow will be the last casualty. Clean ace from Maryville.
There was a light at the end of the tunnel for Winthrop. They had maybe a glimpse of hope to come back in this game, but as soon as that glimpse comes up, it is snuffed out by Maryville. 5 members strong. They're going to push into the bot lane. The wave is present. Tristana is present. And there is just no hope for Winthrop. Maryville are going to take us to game 2 as they are one up here.
Maryville, this team has seemed unstoppable for a moment. It seemed like Winthrop could take it, but we have seen so much power in every phase of the game from Maryville. Even when there's some moments, some glimpses that their competition might be able to take a game, they show superior team fight confidence. They split up that fight beautifully. The Buster Shot used on a Denethor to make sure there's more kite potential for Scary Jerry. This is everyone firing on all cylinders when it comes to these fights.
For sure, and you were talking about the Shockwave, and the whole time I was thinking, okay, when does the Orianna Shockwave come out? And when it eventually did come out, I think it only landed onto one member, so those ultimates in the last fight just weren't able to really find their mark. Maryville had really good spacing to not get caught, 2-man, 3-man Pop Blossoms or Shockwaves. And at the end of the day, those ultimates only find one. And at the end of the day, it's Maryville who managed to win that fight, win the game. I think if Winthrop won that fight, got that dragon, we could be seeing a very different game. I think if that had gone differently, Maryville might have been in a little bit of trouble.
The biggest problem, though, for Winthrop in that game is that fight that they had at their bot lane inhibitor turret. They needed 4 or 5 of them, not just the one in order to win that game. And Winthrop only needed the one. And that is exactly what happened. So we have Maryville, our tournament favorites, already at 1-0 against Winthrop, but Winthrop showing signs of life. It's a Game 5 series that we have ahead of ourselves. Will we get all 5? We'll find out after a break.